Morning folks, I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure, and you actually join me down in Zennor, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. It's pretty early in the morning and I've come out here because I'm going to be testing out the new Innovate Mud Talon Speed V2, but we've got a couple of busy weeks coming up, so I thought I'd head out on the coast path to test out the shoes, but I'll give you a quick update on what's been going on at the channel behind the scenes, because like I said, we've got some busy but very exciting weeks coming up. Plus, we're going to get to look at the section of coast path from Zennor to St Ives. Obviously, the Arc of Attrition is just round the corner, so I thought I'd give you a quick look if you are doing the race, so you can see what the coast path conditions are going to be like. What I can say is we've had a lot of rain. I think it's going to be wet and muddy, but let's get out there and let's find out. As I head off to the coast path, I'm sure some of you eagle-eyed viewers will have spotted that I'm actually running in the original Innovate Mud Talon Speed and not the V2s, and that's because the plan for the test run was to run the first half of the route in the previous version to refresh my memory of how it feels and performs, and then when I get to the turning point at around about 5 miles, I'll quickly switch into the new Mud Talon Speed V2, which I'm carrying in my race vest, and a pair of clean dry socks for the return journey. So sounds like a good plan, right? Now, I was meant to do this run yesterday, but it was proper miserable yesterday. I'm so glad I waited, even though today is a little bit crazy. So I've come out early because we're going to be heading up country. We're going to be flying out to Latvia tomorrow because Liga's cousin is getting married. So we'll do a couple of days in Latvia for the wedding, and then we're coming back. We're going to see my dad for a couple of days, and then we're going to go back to the airport and we're flying out for our last big race of the year. Now, if you were following us last year, you'll know we had a busy calendar of races, what with Liga running the CCC. We did a load of other events as well, and then we headed out to the Wadi Rum Desert for Ultra X Jordan. There's a full series on the channel. We had an incredible time. I mean, mind-blowing. It was more than a race, it was a life experience, a multi-stage race in the desert, 5 days of running, 220 kilometers in one of the most spectacular places in the world, and we loved it so much we wanted to hook up with Ultra X again. So in a few days time we're going to be flying out to Morocco, a place we've always wanted to visit, to do Ultra X Morocco. Now, it's not as long as Jordan, so it's only 2 days. So I say only 2 days, it's 60k on the first day, 50k on the second, and that's obviously in a desert environment. We've been checking on the weather. I don't think it's going to be as hot as Jordan, but still looking pretty toasty. And then in between the 2 days we spend a night in camp, so like a tented village. So again, Jordan just blew our minds. It was magical. So we wanted to hook up with Ultra X again. They did such a great job there, incredible support, so well organised, and like I said, we've always wanted to go to Morocco, so this way we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And that back there was a prime example why I tend to run in the evening, because early mornings don't agree with me. I think it takes me all day for my slightly older aging body to acclimatise and loosen up, and it's always pretty challenging in the morning, but I do love being out here early. But as far as what are the conditions on the coast path like, well, have a look at this. So you can see lots of water running through. It's like a river here. I think it's going to be a very wet and very muddy run, which is perfect for testing out the new Mud Talon Speed, because oh, that water's cold. Because at the end of the day, it's called the Mud Talon, so it should be able to cope with conditions like this. And with that 8mm lugged outsole, we should have plenty of grip. As I continue to make my way to sunny St Ives, the more runnable paths started to take a turn for the worse, or the better, depending on how you look at it, and they became a lot rockier, and some of the sections were covered in big boulders that you have to pick your way through, and this can be quite tricky on fresh legs in broad daylight. So you can only imagine how tricky this section is in the Arc when you've already clocked up around 70 miles, and for some runners they'll be doing this under the cover of darkness, making it super challenging. But the run was going well, and it was great to be back out on one of my favourite sections of Cornish coast path, and it wasn't far to go now until I hit my turning point. Okay, so we are getting this run done. Now, we're getting to a really wet, boggy section of the trail, and behind the camera is the infamous section of Lloyd Slipover Gate. So, if you're new to the channel, I actually brought the ASICS Trabuco Max out here on a long run test. It was a wet day and probably too wet for that shoe, but I got to this section, put my foot down a bog. There was literally no traction on the outsole whatsoever. And I ended up injuring myself pretty bad and damaging some nerves up near my sort of glute area. And it took a good few weeks to get back running, which was really disappointing. And the outsole on that shoe, when it comes to performance, was a proper big letdown. So it was right here where I put my foot down a bog and fell over and ended up doing the splits. It was a pretty uncomfortable fall. Obviously, I've got a super luggy shoe on today, so I'm not going to have any issues going through here. But if you are taking on the Arc, whether it's the 50 or the 100, I would always recommend, especially if it's your first time, coming down to Cornwall and try and recce in this section. You know, maybe do it over 2 days, go from Land's End through Senon, through Zennor, all the way to St Ives. It is a very tricky section of the race. Super boggy, super challenging, really technical. Some of you will do it through night. All of you will do it on tired legs. So it's definitely worth coming out, having a recce if you're doing the 50 or the 100, just to get an idea of what you're going to be taking on. But I found a rock to sit on, so we're going to get the V1s off. I'll get the V2s out of my race vest, and then we're going to be heading back on exactly the same route all the way back to the adventure bus. So it should give us a really good comparison. So we're on the way back to the adventure bus, and it's a funny old section of coast path this. When I was living in St Ives, I'd run this section maybe 2 times a week, and I got so familiar, so conditioned to it, I almost took it for granted. And now I very rarely run this section, even though I love it, because I've moved away. I live in Hale and it's a bit of a drive to get here, but whenever I do, I always forget how challenging it is. Like I said, so technical, but lots of sharp ups and downs, gets the old lungs pumping, legs working hard. And this is why I always say, if you've never taken on the Arc before, you should definitely come out and recce it if you can. I know it's a long way down to Cornwall, but you know, it's a big investment when you do a race like this, and it's worth putting in that time and effort to come down, have a look. You'll be so much more prepared on the day, you really will. Like I said, only if you're doing the 50 and the 100, because the 25 goes from St Ives, and I mean, it's pretty simple running, there's no technical stuff. It's a pretty easy 25 miles, but the 50, the first 25 is challenging, and obviously there's lots of tough sections on the 100. But yeah, like I said, if you can, try and get down it. Plus Cornwall's beautiful, look at it. I mean, come on, look at that backdrop. Mega. I mean, I've lived here, I don't know, 18 years, and it still blows my mind coming out here. It's such a mega section of coast path. Just glorious, especially in the sunshine like this morning. Definitely picked a good morning for it. Right, let's focus, concentrate, no falling over, Lloyd. It was definitely nice to be back in a dry pair of socks and shoes, but I've got to be honest, it didn't last long, and my feet were soaked through again. And that's another thing that makes it tough when it comes to running the Arc of Attrition by UTMB, and that is looking after your feet. Now, foot care when you're running 100 miles is always important, but it's obviously heightened when it's a winter 100 miler on a wet, muddy Cornish coast path. And the reality is that you could be running in wet socks and shoes for pretty much most of the race. So make sure that you are well prepared for that. But hopefully you can see from the footage that it is a truly stunning route to run, and that's in good or bad weather conditions. And I'm sure if you've signed up for one of the races over the Arc weekend, you're going to have a fantastic time. And I can guarantee that you are going to be really well looked after by the wonderful Cornish trail running community. Oh, and there you have it, back to where we started. A solid 9 miles in the legs. That was tough out there. I really am fatigued now. It's incredible how tough that coast path is when you haven't run on it for a while. But that's the run done. Hope you've enjoyed coming out on the route with us today, hearing a bit about what's going on behind the scenes. If you are running the Arc of Attrition for the first time, I hope that helped. Getting to see a bit of the course, and especially one of the challenging sections and the type of underfoot conditions you're going to have to deal with. Really hope your training is going well. Stay strong, stay positive. Hopefully, if we're in Cornwall for the weekend of the race, we're going to be around, so we might even get to say hello to some of you and cheer you on to that finish line, hopefully. But like I said, we're in a rush today, so we're going to call it a day on the video there. But we've got lots of content coming your way, and obviously it's the end of the year, building up towards Christmas, so there's going to be lots of Christmas stuff, gear of the year, running shoes of the year. And if you are subscribed to the channel, great. If not, maybe think about doing that today and hit that bell icon, because then you'll be notified when we upload any new exciting running content. If you are interested in the new Mud Talon Speed V2 from Innovate, there will be a first impressions video on the channel, so I'll leave a link for that in the description below so you can go and check it out. But for now, I'm going to get changed, head back home, finish off packing, and then we're driving up country, we're flying to Latvia, and then it's time to get back and get ready for Ultra X Morocco. So that content will be coming to the channel soon. But thanks for watching, guys. It's really appreciated. We'll be back soon on the channel, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. Okay, my nice, clean, red, shiny shoes didn't stay new and shiny for long. They're covered in mud. We're only 20 yards into the run back.